Hello and welcome to Giant Mess, a sloppy sports and entertainment talk show that covers New York Giants football, Mets baseball, movies, and TV shows with some funny stories mixed in for good measure. This show you're currently listening to or watching is hosted by a giant mess. That's me, the real cinch, Neal Lynch. On today's episode, we're going to talk about the New York Football Giants. A moral victory against the Philadelphia Feebles in the regular season finale, week 18, showing a lot of promise, showing some depth, a lot of encouragement to come out of that game. What does it mean as we go into our wild card contest against the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota? We're the 6th seed, y'all. We're going up against the 3 seed. A very beatable Vikings team, so we'll preview that. We'll also take a look at the 2023 opponents. A little premature, but I figured the opponents are set now that the regular season is over and the standings are finalized. We'll take a look at some of the opponents. Who do we got at home? Who do we got away? And in addition to a very in-depth preview of the Vikings playoff game, we're going to look at the other playoff games going around the NFL, specifically focusing on the NFC. So with that, it's freaking getting started. Okay. Now, leading into this Eagles game, regular season finale, there was a lot of debate going back and forth about should we start our starters or should we rest our starters? If you listen to last week's episode, I aired on the side of caution, very conservative. I'm a bit of a baby back bitch when it comes to this kind of stuff, and so I thought we should probably rest our starters. There were some comparisons to the 2007 finale against the Patriots, where we played all our starters and played hard in a 38-35 loss. I also saw Justin Pennick from Talking Giants brought up another 38-35 loss against another undefeated team in 2011, another Super Bowl season, when we lost to the Packers 38-35 at home. I was in attendance at that game, and I thought that was the start of something special. There was also some talk about in 2008 how we had home field advantage locked up. We started our starters for the first half when we pulled them and eventually lost that game 20-19. I thought we had won it, but we lost, but it didn't really affect anything in the standings. But did it affect our mojo, our momentum heading into those playoffs? Because intense, thrilling game against the Panthers, a win on Sunday Night Football to get the number 1 seed and home field advantage. And then you kind of go half-assed against the Vikings in the finale, and then you have a bye, and then the Eagles come into town and they stick it in you nice and deep, and then they twist it. So this is about as good as we could have hoped for. I mean, going into this, it's like I was worried. I was like, are we really gonna? It felt like right in the middle of the week, I think it felt like, holy shit, I think there's a possibility that maybe Daboll is running a smokescreen and that he really is going to play all his starters to give us that boost. And there was a lot of talk about what would Tom Coughlin do. And I think thankfully everyone came to their senses as we got closer to game time. And it was pretty evident that we weren't going to risk anything. I mean, announcing Davis Webb as the starter when the dude hasn't made one start at all in the NFL, we're going to completely leapfrog over our backup Tyrod Taylor and go with Davis Webb. And to see that, we really, like, Saquon didn't dress, Daniel Jones dressed, but he was not, he was pretty much had his ass planted on the bench. And so knowing that you had these second stringers, third stringers, a lot of guys that were just signed this week, just elevated from the practice squad playing, it was like, all right, Eagles are playing for the number 1 seed in the home field advantage throughout the playoffs. They want that first round bye. They're going to play Jalen Hurts. They started him. You had to think, okay, first stringers versus third stringers, we're going to get our doors blown off. Like, it's going to be, another 48-22 situation, if that. It might be 48-0 when it's all said and done. And then it should be cruise control for the Eagles, right? Right. I don't think you could have asked for a better contest or a better outing from our backups. It's a loss. It's 22-16. I know that we were down multiple scores for most of the game, But to come away with only a 6-point loss against the best team in the NFC, not too bad. Now, I know just the eyeball test with the Eagles, that did not look like they were trying 100%. So there's that. You know that Jalen Hurts is hurt. He admitted as much, and he probably was not going full tilt like he would have if this were like a do or die playoff game. So you have to kind of keep that in mind with the 6-point loss. But still, I think you got to feel confident. I mean, I'm encouraged. I feel confident after watching that game and seeing what kind of depth we have. I mean, Jared Davis, dude, we signed off the practice squad from the Lions, comes in and is making impact. Micah McFadden playing well. So, sure, we were down 16-0 at half. But you look at some of these drives that the Eagles put together, and you look at some of their scoring opportunities. Jake Elliott had to hit a 52-yarder and a 54-yarder. These weren't, drives where they're going down deep into the red zone and coming away with field goals. These are drives where they're on the fringe of scoring opportunities, and they just happen to have a kicker that can hit from that range. Not to mention that what the hell are we doing trying to do a fake field goal? Just let Gano be Mr. Automatic and hit it. If he hits that, who knows how things change. Encouraged by the number of sacks. Now, I understand Hurts is hurt, but it's his shoulder. It's not like, and I guess he doesn't want to scramble too much and run and increase the potential for getting hit on that shoulder and dinged on that shoulder. But still, 3 sacks, not too bad. I think if you're the Eagles, a win's a win. But at the same time, you can't feel that great about that win. I mean, going into that game, you were probably thinking, okay, let's get up like 20 plus 30 plus points in the first half and pull everyone so that we can rest and breathe a sigh of relief and, take and coast. And they didn't. They had to play all 4 quarters. They had to play a full 60 minutes. So I think that's a win for the Giants, to be honest. And it also, I think it exposed a lot of the weaknesses for the Eagles. 14 wins. I think it's the most in franchise history in a regular season. Great. Congratulations. But Jalen Hurts throwing a red zone interception when he could have put the game away. Giants only allowing 4 yards per rush, which is a huge victory for them, especially with all their backups, considering, we're one of the worst rush defenses in the league. Hurts 20 of 35, 207 passing yards. I don't know that that's really, sure, there's rust because he hasn't played in 2 or 3 weeks. And, but 1 of 5 in the red zone for the Eagles. 1 of 5. That can't feel good against a bunch of backups. Backups of backups. I mean, I'm talking no Kayvon, no Leo, no Aziz, no Dexter, no McKinney, no Love. That was a very depleted Giants defense, and Wink Martindale just dialed it up yet again. Although I don't think it was interesting. I don't think he blitzed and pressured as much as he usually does. So, I think what killed us was penalties, 8 penalties, and Davis Webb just not being starting NFL quarterback. I can't believe the number of times that he would drift back and throw a 1-yard pass. Like, I mean, we'll get to the stats, but like on offense, no Saquon, no DJ, no Slayton, no Richie James, no Bellinger, no Andrew Thomas. This had all the makings of like a preseason game, exhibition game for the Giants. I thought Matt Breida and Gary Brightwell ran very well. Between the two, I think Brightwell looks pretty aggressive. I like the way he runs. Reminiscent of Paul Perkins to a certain extent, but 11 carries, 60 yards, had a long of 25. Matt Breida, 4 carries, 28 yards, and Davis Webb, 6 carries for 41 yards and a touchdown. So Webb is a little more elusive than I thought. I've only really seen him in preseason games, and I didn't think that he was that elusive in those games, but he was running for his life most of this game. And, I really liked the spin move he put on that one defender rolling to his left, coming back, and then almost hitting Marcus Johnson for a big gain. That would have been huge. And, Lawrence Cager, we kind of forgot about him. He came in off the streets. He had a pretty big game against, I think, the Texans or something like that off the bye. And then he comes in here and he has 8 catches for 69 yards on 10 targets. I think that's someone that, might pair well with Bellinger. It's another threat, Nick Vannett, not necessarily a pass catching tight end. He's more of a blocking tight end. So it's nice to have, you have the blocking tight end, you have the hybrid in Bellinger who can block and catch, and then you have more of the receiving tight end and Cager. I like that trio. Kenny Golladay, 7 targets, which that seems high. I don't remember them throwing the ball to him 7 times. But he had 2 catches for 30 yards. Of course, he had his first touchdown as a New York Football Giant. Congratulations, Kenny Golladay. Well deserved. And it was a friggin' hell of a catch, dude. Hell of a snag. One hand, diving, jumping backwards against big play Slay, Darius Slay, his former teammate. But here's a one stat that will clue you in as to what was going on during that contest. Matt Breida had 8 targets. He had 7 catches, 12 yards. He averaged 1.7 yards per reception, which is just, I don't know that I've ever seen a stat line like that in my life. So, yeah. Kudos to the offense. I mean, the ability to run the ball was nice. You had to think that they would have to get rid of the ball quickly in order to function and be efficient offensively in the passing game. And they didn't really do that. It seems like, Webb would just kind of keep coming back and going back and going back. And it's like, dude, you need to just get rid of the ball. You see it, throw it. Back-to-back delay of games, like you can't happen. So we don't have to worry about Davis Webb taking, Daniel Jones' job or even Tyrod Taylor's job. Defensively, I think the defense is what impressed me the most in this game. I think the offense put the defense in a lot of poor situations, a lot of 3-and-outs, a lot of punts, and we didn't have any of our big time starters on defense, and yet, like I said, they stepped up and they looked decent. 2 touchdowns, I think it was. 1 touchdown, 2 touchdowns. Yeah, 1 touchdown. 1 touchdown. Number 1 seed in NFC. 1 touchdown. So I think that's a huge win. Jared Davis, we talked about. He had 10 total tackles, half a sack. Micah McFadden also a sack, 7 tackles. Dane Belton with the pick, like we talked about. Nick McLeod with 1.5 sacks. And a pass breakup. Cordell Flott had a nice pass breakup against A.J. Brown. I didn't realize that Cordell Flott is so freaking young. I think he just turned 21 this year or something like that. So that's promising. Something to look out for. I think Timon Fox had a good game. Jason Pinnock had a pretty decent game. I think Landon Collins got a lot of snaps next to Jared Davis and didn't look as great in the run game as I would have hoped. I think he got lost in the sauce sometimes. But with that said, I think that's it was like great training and practice for the upcoming matchup against the Vikings. Jalen Hurts, his QBR was 24.9. His rating was 65. Is that going to win you games in the playoffs? No. So, and that's against backups of backups. So I mean, sure, a win's a win. We'll take it any way you can get it. But when you're the number 1 seed in the NFC, do you really want to finish on that kind of note going into the bye? I guess the bye helps, right? To shake that off and just say, whatever. It wasn't our best, but we're in, and now we get to possibly host the Giants again in the division round. Yeah, there, I said it. Running the ball, Boston Scott, all-time Giants killer. I'm starting a GoFundMe, and I would encourage all Giants fans to donate so that we can just buy out his contract and say, go away. Or here, you can get this money from any team that you want other than the Eagles and the Cowboys and the Commanders. Just do not want to see that guy for the rest of my life. Miles Sanders, 33 yards and 11 carries. Okay. Hurts, I think, like I said, he's banged up, so he wasn't going to scramble and take risks like he normally does. 9 carries, 13 yards. and 8 of those came on one run. So it's really like 8 carries, 5 yards. He just was not interested in laying it all out. AJ Brown, 10 targets, 4 catches. That's not bad. Sure, it was 95 yards. He had that one 37-yard catch and run. Devontae Smith, 7 catches on 8 targets for 67 yards. I think, he's the one that is more the consistent killer. AJ Brown's kind of the big home run hitter. And then Devontae Smith is kind of just like 1,000 paper cuts. And Dallas Goedert, I mean, we've never been able to figure him out. So I think if we do end up facing them again, it's like, you got to get AJ Brown high-low, over the top, underneath. You got to get Smith kind of boxed in that middle area of the field. And then, if Goddard's going to kill you, Goddard's going to kill you, because I don't know that we're going to be able to put up a fight with him unless Landon Collins figures it out in coverage, or, I guess you just got to double both, it's basically you're doubling those 3 guys, and just, whoever else is left will be the one that will have to step up for the Eagles. I think the Giants wanted to play loose and fast, and knowing that it didn't really matter what they did. And they said, screw it. Let's just throw it all to the wind. So there were some trick plays. There were some fakes. There were some surprise onside kicks, a lot of wrinkles. I think the field goal fake was probably not your best move right there. The trick play, I think there might have been an opening down the field, but again, it's like when you have a non-quarterback throwing the ball, they're not used to processing or reading the play. It's just like, is my first option open? No. Okay, I'm going to run. And surprise onside kick was a little weird. It's just like, we're already down so much. Our defense is playing well. Let's just kick it deep, but whatever. It's something that, to work on in the event that you do come across that situation again in the playoffs. So that is about as good as you can feel coming out of that game. I think if, I think it does matter. I really do. Especially when you don't have the bye week. I think if you come out in that last game and lay an egg and then go with the bye week, it's just a sour taste in your mouth. And to put up that kind of fight when they were like 15-point underdogs or something like that, and to only lose by 6, and to have an opportunity with less than 2 minutes in the game to tie it, dude. I mean, that's about as good as it gets. And I think, the starters seeing that kind of effort out of the backups has to give them a little extra spice. You know what I'm saying? It has to give them a little extra flavor and heat. Yeah. So I couldn't have been played or coached any better. And to think that we could almost pull off the upset, and the Cowboys still get blown out by the Commanders is just laughable, dude. So funny. But yeah, just going back to the eyeball test, I don't think the Eagles were going 100%. I really don't. I think they were in control, but it was like, I don't know that there was complete control. I think it was like, very easily could have gone the wrong way, could have gone sideways for them and really screwed things up. But I mean, it wouldn't have mattered anyway because the Cowboys stink. Although I guess would they have dropped to the 2 seed if they lost and the 49ers won? Yeah. So, and, I looked at the playoff seeds too. I posted this on Twitter, but it's like, something like 40 to 50% of Super Bowl participants have been number 1 seeds or something like that. So if your odds are higher. It's not like it's even across the board. What I thought was interesting was like the 4 seed actually happens to get to the Super Bowl a decent amount, as does the 5th or 6th seed. One of those two. So it's almost like you're better off not getting the 2nd seed, ironically. But we do have the 6th seed. We obviously locked it up last week, so we're just waiting for the rest of the chips to fall. We'll get to that in a second. Real quick, I just wanted to talk about the 2023 opponents. I know it's really just like, I mean, they were just finalized after because of the regular season is now over, and it's so far away. I get it, and we got to focus on the playoffs. I get it, but it's just fun to like take a quick look. So our home opponents, other than the Cowboys, Eagles, and Commanders, the Rams, Seahawks, Patriots, Jets, and Packers. I like that home schedule. The Rams are in a state of flux. Sean McVay is like going to take a leave of absence. Aaron Donald might retire. Who knows what's going on with Stafford and his injuries. I think the Rams are ripe for the picking. Seahawks, yes, they made the playoffs. It took them, they had to take the Rams into overtime. They doinked a game-winning field goal, and then they had a game-winning field goal go in an OT after a Baker Mayfield interception. They needed the Lions to beat the Packers, and of course the Packers, that was a shock to me. I thought the Packers had that in the bag. It was like, okay, here come the Packers doing their Packers things. Aaron Rodgers doing Aaron Rodgers things. Like this is no contest. And then the Lions stuck it to him and helped the Seahawks out. So I feel a lot better about playing the Seahawks at home than I do in Seattle. So I think that's probably a win. Patriots are in a weird spot too. Like their defense is legit and one of the toughest in the league, if not the hardest to score on in the NFL. So I think that's going to be a pretty nice contest, going to evenly matched. The Jets, again, that's another team that has a great defense. So who knows what they got going on offensively, but I feel good about our odds there just because their offense is in such a state of disarray. Although Garrett Wilson's pretty decent wide receiver. Breece Hall was like basically offensive rookie of the year before he got hurt. So that could be more evenly matched than we could be in for a shootout there. A shootout as in 9-6 is the final score. And then the Packers. I mean, the biggest question mark out of all those teams, maybe other than the Rams, is the Packers. Aaron Rodgers could retire. He could go to another team. He doesn't know. He's going to try and make a decision before free agency opens, but it feels like getting them at home, that could be probably a win. And then away games, away opponents. The Cardinals are a dumpster fire. They just fired Cliff Kingsbury. Who knows what's going on with Kyler Murray? Their GM of 20 plus years just stepped down. So, I mean, sure, you could have a full-on, look at what happened with the Giants. Joe Shane and Brian Daboll come in and they turn a team that hasn't been in the playoffs in 6 years into a playoff team. So it can be done. Can the Cardinals do it? Maybe. But I'm willing to bet that we can take them down in year one of this new regime. 49ers, that feels like a loss. They just look so goddamn good. Doesn't matter who their quarterback is. That defense is so stout. And Christian McCaffrey is such a boss. And then you have Kittle and Ayuk and Debo. And it's just like, to me, I feel like they're going to be the NFC representative in the Super Bowl if they can pass the Giants. Bills, Dolphins, Saints, Raiders. I mean, I think we lose in Buffalo. I'd be interested to see what kind of Dolphins team we get next year. It's just like if Tua plays, they're good. If he doesn't play, they're not good. He's had so many concussions already. I could go either way, but I feel like that could be a win. Saints could be a loss. I'm going to be honest. We're not great in New Orleans, and they have such a good defense, and who knows what happens with them offensively, especially because I think Michael Thomas might be leaving. I don't know that Dalton's got another year there. Is Taysom Hill going to go back to being the starting quarterback? What's up with Jameis Winston? A lot of question marks on the offensive side of the ball. So it could be close, but I just feel like in New Orleans, they would probably drop that one. And then the Raiders in Vegas. I think we should win that one. I mean, and this is the beauty of the NFC East being such a beast of a division this year, is that we're the third place finisher, but we're not playing a playoff caliber schedule next year. We're playing like a third place team schedule. I mean, the Saints, Raiders, Packers, those are the number 3 finishers in each of their respective divisions. Obviously, the Packers and Saints are better than, most, I think, third place teams, but the Raiders are just in shambles. Derek Carr is possibly leaving. Who knows what Devontae Adams wants to do after seeing Carr leave? McDaniels doesn't know what he's doing out there. I don't think he's good for the team. So I think the Raiders, that could be a W right there. So what are we looking at here? Win. Say win. 5-0? No. At worst, 3-2 against non-division opponents at home. 4-1 is probably more like it, and I wouldn't be surprised if we go 5-0. Away, I would go win, loss, win, loss, win. So I'd say like 1-0, 1-1, 1-2, 2-2, 2-3, 3-3. So I'd say 3-3 on the road, which is fine. I mean, that's kind of usually what should happen. You should dominate at home and then, break even on the road. But the Giants are one of those wacky teams where they sometimes play better on the road. But I could see us going, I think 10 wins is now the bar that you want to set. We're a 10-win team, and that's the minimum that we'll accept. But as things stand, I think that's a pretty favorable schedule and pretty favorable opponents. So the playoff seeds are set. The schedule has been released. Giants playing at Minnesota Sunday, 4:40 kickoff on Fox, I believe. I think someone said that Kirk Cousins, I saw it was Kirk Cousins like 7-12 in afternoon games on Sundays. So that's pretty good in our favor. Of course, the Eagles get the bye. The 1 seed Seahawks slide in with the Lions beating the Packers. And they're going to go to San Francisco and they're going to get thrashed. Just defeathered on on national television. Oof. That's going to be ugly. I know there was like this, a lot of people saying, well, remember Beastquake, the Saints going into Seattle. No one thought Seattle had a chance and they come out with the victory, but this is not in Seattle. It's in San Francisco. And so that's why I think the Seahawks they'll be competitive, but I think the 49ers just outlast people and they just wear you down, pound you down, ground and pound. Like, the Cardinals were like neck and neck with them for a little bit. And then San Fran just pulled away this past Sunday. So I think you'll see something similar to that, where it's like Seattle will keep it close for the first half, maybe the first 3 quarters, and then 49ers will pull away at the end and get the dub. Cowboys at Bucks. I honestly think the Bucks, as bad as they have looked, are going to pull off the win against Dallas. I really do. I think Dallas is like in a weird funk. I mean, they kind of didn't look great against Tennessee, against Joshua Dobbs. They lose to Sam Howell in Washington. That defense is supposed to be pretty solid, but their offense, like Dak missed a whole handful of games and leads the league in interceptions. I'm going to take the Bucks in that one. I honestly think the Bucks, especially Dallas on the road. I think Dallas at home, if they play Tampa, I think they win. On the road in Tampa, I think Brady pulls out all the stops, and I think Tampa gets the win. And then I think that, I'm a bit partial, I'm a bit biased. The New York Giants are going to go into Minnesota and steal a victory against Minnesota, the frauds. And then where do we go from there? Well, we come back to Philadelphia and we get our revenge. How sweet would that be? The revenge for the loss that I mentioned earlier, the 2008-2009 divisional round loss where we had home field advantage coming off the bye and we laid a stinker against Philadelphia at home, still burns a hole in my soul. And I think we get revenge on them this year. I really do. Especially if we come away from that Minnesota game nice and healthy. No serious injuries. And then you have the Bucks going to San Francisco to face the Niners, and I think the Niners are going to trounce the Buccaneers yet again. And then we might be setting up for a friggin' Giants at Niners NFC Championship on the 20-year anniversary of the meltdown. And maybe we get revenge for that. 2 revenges in 1 playoff? postseason. Oh boy, that would be so sweet. So yeah, dreamer's dream. You gotta. I'm a big fantasy guy. I like to fantasize, here and there, and I think. That's the storyline that we're all pulling for, is like revenge on the Eagles for the 2009 playoff loss, revenge on the Niners for the 2003 playoff loss. And then we go to the Super Bowl, and then we probably get just demolished by either the Bills, Chiefs, or Bengals. Although, out of curiosity, I would like to know how we would fare if you had to rank who would you want to face. I know this is like wow, Neal, you're really just overlooking everything that's going on and jinxing the hell out of us. Knock on wood, but Bills, Chiefs, or Bengals. I mean, the Bills have so much going for them right now with the DeMar Hamlin stuff. I would honestly almost want to face the Chiefs more than the Bengals or Bills. I think I'd rather face the Chiefs then the Bengals, then the Bills. The Bills they just got too much. I mean, they're just, although I had to say, Josh Allen, another red zone interception. Dude turns over the ball a lot when in scoring opportunities. So that almost and we have a pretty good red zone defense. So I wonder if that will work in our favor. And Mahomes is Mahomes, so that might not work. And but it would be sweet to get revenge on Kadarius Toney. Another revenge. So much revenge in this postseason, dude. Bengals are the Bengals, man. I don't know what to think about the Bengals. Eli Apple revenge. Whoa, dude. Okay. Isaiah Hadjin's revenge against the Bills. Whoa, dude. Yeah, I don't know. But we're talking about the Super Bowl. Let's focus on the wild card game. All right, let's preview the Minnesota Vikings game. Like we said, Sunday, 4:30. I like the time slot. I almost wanted a Saturday afternoon, Saturday night game for some reason. I don't know why, but I'll take Sunday afternoon. So, Giants offense versus the Vikings defense. This Giants offense doesn't turn the ball over. Second fewest turnovers in the league, thanks to Daniel Jones not throwing interceptions. That was the major knock on him coming into the season and over his career. He turns the ball over too much. He fumbles too much. He throws so many picks, and he's brought that drastically down this year. Most of the turnovers have come on fumbles lost, and not really due to Mr. Dimes. No team in the NFL has thrown less interceptions, and that's all thanks to Daniel Jones. We're first in turnover percentage, and that's the key here. If we don't, how do we lose the Vikings game last go round? You had Daniel Jones threw an interception. You had Daniel Bellinger fumble the ball away. Our offense is 8th in total first downs, 8th in rushing attempts, 4th in total rushing yards, 4th in rushing touchdowns, 5th in rushing yards per attempt, 4th in rushing first downs. I'd like to see us run the ball. I think, but I can understand why we didn't run as much against Minnesota that first go around, because once you get to the Vikings, the stats for the Vikings defense, it should become pretty clear. This team allows a lot of yards through the air, and there's a lot of opportunities to pick up chunks through the air. So maybe we don't need to run the ball, but it still would be good to get that balance going. And, maybe we gash them enough on the run that they start to creep up in the box, and then we can take some deep shots. We are 6th in penalties offensively. It's kind of interesting. Shocking. Not shocking, but interesting. And it seems like Evan Neal is still struggling. A lot of false starts, a lot of holds. A lot of people saying, well, this is what happened with Andrew Thomas in his rookie season. And so now, Evan Neal is going through his growing pains. But that's kind of if we're comparing him to Andrew Thomas, then we should expect a big leap in his second year, and then he's going to be all-pro his third year. So I think having 2 all-pro tackles, you could do worse. We do get the 5th most amount of first downs by penalty, which is I think maybe a testament to, I don't know what, inducing penalties, forcing the team to make an error. 3rd best rushing offense and expected points contributed in the league. And we have the 7th highest red zone percentage, 9th highest time per drive. And I think that's what got us back in the game against Minnesota. That long ass drive we had where it took off a bunch of time off the clock, took that offense, the wind out of the Minnesota's offense sails. their sails, if they were a ship, if it were, an old wooden ship named Diversity, sails would be deflated because we rung up the time of possession during that game. I think it was that third quarter drive, maybe second quarter drive, and the ability to punch in the end zone. You can't compete with a Vikings team and not score touchdowns. You can't. We're not going to win this game if we kick 5 field goals. We're going to have to score touchdowns, and I think it's very, very possible. Why? Well, let's look at the Vikings defense. They allowed the third most total points in the league, third most points allowed per game, 5th most yards per drive, 6th most points per drive. They have the 5th worst scoring percentage. They have allowed the 2nd most total yards in the NFL, 3rd highest yards per play, 3rd highest net passing yards per attempt, the 7th most first downs, the 1st in passing first downs allowed, 4th most completions, 2nd most passing yards, 2nd most yak. Let's throw the freaking ball. You don't want to get completely away from the run, but we should have a lot of success. I think Danny threw for 300 plus yards last go around and a few touchdowns. I picture a repeat performance of that. That's for sure. I'd like to see, again, more deep shots with James, more deep shots with Hodgins, more deep crossers with Slayton. I think you're going to see, we just got to hold on the ball. Catch the ball and hold on the ball. If we catch the ball and hold on the ball, don't turn the ball over, we're going to win this freaking game. That simple. No team has had more penalty yards on defense than Minnesota. So force them to force errors. We've done it. You've seen it. 5th most first downs by penalty on offense, and they give up a lot of first downs by penalty on defense. So it's like push the envelope, push them to make mistakes, push them to make errors, and we'll be in the green zone, as TC would say. Defensively, this is where I think we win the game. I think if we had what we're going to have defensively going into this game, if we had this defense going into this game that we should have had in the last game, we would have won. I believe Adoree Jackson's going to play. We have X-Man coming back, Xavier McKinney, Kayvon Thibodeau is back. Azeez Ojulari should be back. Leonard Williams had a nice, Azeez got the rest. They all got to rest up and not get banged up another week and have to risk injury again. Leo can rest his neck. Everyone's fully healthy and ready to go, locked and loaded. And that's going to be huge because if we do allow Justin Jefferson to catch another dozen balls for 100 plus yards and a touchdown, we allow TJ Hawkinson to catch another double digits receptions and triple digit yardage, we'll probably lose again. I don't know. You can't allow that to happen again, expect to win. And I think the difference here is you're going to have your secondary, your coverage is bolstered, right? It's strengthened, but you're going to have a lot more pressure. I mean, Wink dials up the blitz. Nobody blitzes more than us. We're tied for the 4th most knockdowns, 4th highest knockdown percentage, 7th most pressures, 5th highest pressure percentage. We're gonna blitz the shit out of Captain Kirk, okay? And we're gonna send him where no man has gone before, right? First round exit. Well, he's been there before, but you get what I'm saying. That's how we win this game. Pressure, pressure, pressure from all angles. And what has kind of screwed us on defense is that our turnover percentage is not great. And that's because we don't pick off the ball. We can't catch interceptions. We have the second most of our 19 takeaways, 13 have been by fumble, which is tied for the 2nd most in the NFL. But we also have the 2nd fewest interceptions. And this Vikings offense loves to throw the ball. I mean, we're going to get to it in a second, but we could have had 2 interceptions against Kirk the first go around. I wouldn't be shocked if we get another 2 or 3 opportunities to pick off the ball this go round. So, as long as we don't get gashed too much in the run, which Minnesota doesn't really run the ball that much. They don't like to run the ball, so I think that's not going to be that much of an issue. They're gonna toss the ball around the yard, and I think we'll be up to the challenge. We should be up to the challenge after seeing what you're seeing from guys like Cordell Flott and from Nick McLeod and from some part-time role play members who maybe don't get the spotlight that much, but that showed a lot in that last regular season finale against the Eagles. I think I have a lot of confidence in this defense to step up and make plays. And I think this offense is starting to hit a little bit of a groove and is coming through. I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better finish this season, I don't think. I really don't think. I mean, after that, getting blown out by the Eagles at home, that was a low point. And it was like, I don't know how we pick ourselves up from this, but maybe this is like a nice little detox. You flush it out of the system, get all that crap out of you, and then you finish strong. And that's kind of what they did. Big time game against the Commanders, big time game, against the Colts, and then, giving it your all against the Eagles. And saving face and having some pride. And I think that's going to carry over into that, into this game. I mean, I look at the guys that we're going to have on that field on Sunday on the defensive side of the ball. And I say to myself, I know it's not going to show. It doesn't show in the team stats, defensive stats for the year, but you haven't really had this crew all together for a lot of games for the year. When you do have them all together, they're fucking awesome. I want to say top 5, top 10 defense. But when you have Azeez out, or Kayvon out, or Leo out, or Adoree out, when you have 1 or 2 or 3 guys out each game, yeah, you're going to get exploited. And right now, our weak spot, I would say that our secondary is not so weak anymore. I would say our weak point is linebacker. And after seeing what Jared Davis is able to offer, maybe not such, and maybe in getting Landon Collins into the mix more, they're not so much of a weak spot. It's not as glaring. And Michael McFadden, can make some plays here and there. And Jalen Smith is just an absolute wild card. So who knows what he's able to pull off in this game. But I mean, like, you look at our outside linebacking crew and our defensive line, solid, dude. Solid. I mean, our backups are Jihad Ward and Timon Fox and Ashane Zimenez. That's pretty good. 3 pretty good dudes right there that you like to have rotating in. So I think the Vikings offense is going to have their hands full. Now, I mean, they're potent. 7th in total points scored, 8th most points per game, 8th in red zone percentage, 7th in total yards, 3rd in total first downs, 2nd in passing first downs, 1st in first downs by penalty. And that just means that they push the ball down the field and they want you to make errors, and they'll force you to make errors. 3rd in completions and attempts, 5th in completion percentage, 5th in passing yards and passing touchdowns, 10th in passing yards per attempt, 6th most passing yards per game. So yeah, do they like to pass? I think they like to pass. And so it's a matter of, and how are they going to counteract it? They have to know that we're going to be bringing the heat, bringing the pressure. So are they going to be able to do these deep routes or concepts where it's down the field? Are they going to be able to do that against a team that's pressuring like we are? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think you can do a 5-step, 7-step drop and like let plays develop when you got multiple guys hanging all over you. And Kirk Cousins not the most mobile dude. They do have the 8th most sacks allowed, and the 8th, but they have thrown the 8th most interceptions. So, and I think that's what it's going to come down to. I really do. I think, like I said, we dropped a couple interceptions the first time. Let's not drop them this time. I think we get 2 picks. I really do. We're going to get at least 1 interception. We have to. And I wouldn't be surprised if we get 3. If Minnesota gets down, they have to start throwing some more. The Vikings do lead the league in fourth quarter comebacks and game-winning drives with 8 of their 13 wins have come in the final quarter. And that's I think this game is going to come down to the final quarter as well. And, I liked how we finished the game against Minnesota last time. I mean, 61-yard field goal, of course, that they're going to hit that on us. But Greg Joseph, if you're going to put me in a field goal battle, like who's going to win this game with a field goal, I pick Graham Gano over Greg Joseph every time. Gano has just better numbers across the board. Field goal percentage, extra point percentage. I think, if it come down to a kick at the end, I think Gano is the one who pulls it out. You look at that last sequence against Minnesota on Christmas Eve, and it was just that damn screen. And maybe that's how they beat us this go around, and I'm talking about how they can't be expecting to have these deep, outs and digs and crosses and verts and seams and whatnot. They're not going to be able to have the opportunity to get that done. Maybe they're going to kill us with screens, because it seems like we have been susceptible to that over the course of the season. So hopefully we have a game plan for that and don't allow that to happen. But that's how they got into range. Friggin' Jefferson. I think it was Jefferson on that screen. So, but yeah, 8th best passing offense in the NFL, 3rd best in the NFC in terms of expected points contributed, and 10th in turnovers lost. So all things seem to be pretty evenly matched, which is an insane thing to say for a 6 seed versus a 3 seed. You wouldn't expect it to be that evenly matched in terms of, rankings and stats and whatnot. And I think the rankings and stats don't even tell the full story. And so I think it might come down to special teams. And that's where that's the only area of concern that I have. And it's not so much even with Gano, obviously. It's with Jamie Gillen. He had a punt blocked last time against Minnesota. He didn't look too great against Philadelphia. The Vikings have a top 5 kickoff return unit in terms of return yards and yards per return. So I think that's something that we would need to get under control. Not that we've been that bad defending the kickoff. Like I said, Gano, I have utmost confidence in him. He's a top 10 kicker. But it's punting. We have the 4th highest touchback percentage. And the Vikings are tied for the 3rd most punts down inside the 20 and the 8th highest inside the 20 rate. And that's when you deal in games like this where it is close, it is going to be evenly matched. It's a battle of field position, right? Turnovers, field position, time possession. Maybe we win the time possession. Maybe win the turnover battle. But when it comes to the little things, and you saw this in a lot of the championship runs that the Giants have had. Fiegel's coffin corner, Weatherford pinning guys inside the 5, inside the 10 makes a huge difference. And Jamie Gillen's not giving us that right now. And maybe it's not all on him per se. Maybe it's on the Gunners, but that's the area where I think if we do F up and we lose an edge in this game, it's going to be in the punt game. Insane, crazy enough. So I'd like to see us step it up in the punt game, and hopefully he has the game of his life. But I don't know what the over-under is on this game. I assume it's in the 40s. I would probably take the under. Let's see here. Ooh, wow. So we're only 3-point underdogs. And the over-under is 48.5. I would say I would take the over on the 48.5, and I would definitely take the Giants +3 for show. So there you have it. I think this is, I remember in the offseason when we were looking at contracts in the future and like, what are we going to do with Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley? And I had us this year, I was like, maybe competing for a wild card, maybe making, being there in the playoff hunt in December. And I thought if we were in the playoff hunt in December, then that's a win for us as a franchise, because we haven't been competitive in November and December the past 5 years, or 10 of the past, 12 years. You know what it is? You know what I mean? So like to be in the playoff hunt this year was a step in the right direction for me. And then I was like, but then we have to make the playoffs in 2023. And lo and behold, we're 1 year early. So it's, I'm just really happy with the direction of the team. Brian Daboll is by far coach of the year, not even friggin' close with anyone else. I mean, I know people were saying maybe Mike McDaniel. Someone was suggesting Mike Tomlin. Sirianni obviously would be a great decision, but like for Daboll to take this team that has a roster that's been kind of ravaged by a whole lot of tumultuous things going on, and to take them to the postseason in year 1, like that's huge. So he's got to be coach of the year. Would love for Saquon to be comeback the player of the year, but I don't know if that's gonna happen. But yeah, I'm scared by how confident I am. And I think you see a lot of confidence from the Giant fan base on Twitter and on social media saying like, we got this. And I'm hoping it's not a situation where it's like we get a little too overconfident and then we just come out and lay an egg. Because I remember feeling something similar when in 2016 going into that game against Green Bay. I was like, we've gone in there 2 times before and we've come out victorious both times. It just feels like we're going to do it again. And then we came out and it was the boat trip. It was the boat trip. Drop balls left and right. And that's what ended up killing us. I don't see that happening in this go round. I think the team is just too focused. I think it's a different clubhouse, different mentality. And I don't think that Dayball is going to allow a lot of that shit to go on. So I'm excited. I'm so excited. Because it just feels like the beginning of something special. I know that I think Big Blue VCR posted a video from like the 84 wild card post game win. When the Giants went into LA and beat the Rams. And then at the time, it's like they're coming off 83 season in which they were atrocious. 82, there was a strike season. 81 was a playoff team, but with a lot of different players, mostly. And so to see a youngish Phil Simms, he's like 5th year in the league or something like that. But you kind of getting similar vibes in this team with that 84 team. Like, okay, I think we've got some good pieces in place. And now we know we have the guys, and now we're just going to build around them, and then we're going to become a powerhouse. So, yeah, I feel really good about this, and I hope you do too. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for watching. Let's go Giants. Let's go Big Blue. Score, score, score. No. All right. See you next week. Adios, muchachos.